A determined visitor approaches a secluded cabin at dawn. A firm knock echoes, breaking the morning silence. Inside, the simple room remains still and unresponsive, but the sound finally rouses someone from a deep sleep. Our boy sits up, clearly annoyed by the early disturbance. Outside, the blonde woman waits with unwavering patience. He cracks the door open, his expression less than welcoming, and finds a formally dressed yet unfamiliar woman on his porch. Her face is revealed, filled with a solemn and urgent purpose. His sleepy annoyance instantly vanishes, replaced by pure shock. She struggles to speak, her face flushed with shame, and the words finally come out. She has been expelled. Inside, our boy puts on a kettle, letting the news sink in. He glances back at his guest, a stark contrast to his humble home. Her radiant presence feels completely out of place in his quiet life, but a faint nostalgic smile touches his lips. He finally speaks, acknowledging how much his student has grown. This is Lilian, his most beloved and promising disciple. His mind flashes back 20 years to their very first meeting. A younger Roge faced a dragon, calling it the perfect training partner. Standard Tuesday, I guess. The dragon unleashes a torrent of fire, but Roge stands his ground. With a powerful shout, he erects an all-attribute barrier. The little girl finds herself safe inside the magical shield, utterly bewildered. But Roge isn't just defending. He's already preparing as he unleashes his spell Meteor Shooter, summoning a barrage of arcane stones. The dragon's eyes widen, clearly not expecting this level of resistance. The magical projectiles slam into the beast with overwhelming force. As the dust settles, the girl looks up, her world completely shaken. Roge approaches her, his aura still glowing, and asks if she's all right. He just smiles, explaining his spell like he didn't just break physics. He tells her that with enough study, she could wield such power, too. But Raj notices the brief flicker of hope in her eyes quickly fade. Tears well up as she admits she's alone with no way to even attend school. Her small hand clenches the tattered fabric of her clothes in desperation. A look of profound understanding crosses Rose's face. He reveals a shared past. He was an orphan, too, who studied magic just to survive. Now a master of all attributes, he extends a hand, promising she can do the same. He vows to teach her, and for the next 10 years, they would travel together. The memory shifts forward to a brighter, older Lilian, calling him her teacher. She declares her new purpose to help others, just as he once helped her. She had promised to show the entire world the wonder of his after they parted. Roge delved into ancient grimoires, eventually earning the title of sage. Hearing she'd become a royal court magician gave him the peace of mind to retire. The memory fades as he slides a warm cup across the table to her. He finally breaks the silence, asking her to explain what expulsion truly means. She confirms her high-ranking position as a guardian of national magical items, but her expression falters, the story taking a much darker turn. She was dismissed by the second prince, a revelation that leaves Roge utterly stunned. He can't comprehend it. He knows her talent far surpasses his own. He probes for the cause, certain it's a mistake, though he seems to be enjoying this a little too much. Liliana admits there was no official reason given for her dismissal, but she has a sinking suspicion about what truly happened. She believes it's because she witnessed the second prince's affair. The story unfolds. Prince Thrush is engaged to a duke's daughter, but Lilian accidentally stumbled upon the prince's secret rendezvous. To silence her, he had her fired, promoting his fiancée in her place. Rose's deadpan expression says everything about this royal mess. She can't believe her career was ruined for such a petty, personal reason. The faint amusement on Rose's face vanishes, replaced by cold focus. Overwhelmed by the injustice, she finally breaks down in tears. He questions the very structure of the kingdom, finding her dismissal completely unreasonable. But he quickly sets aside his anger, focusing on how to help his disciple. He offers a simple solution to go on an adventure, just like old times. The suggestion catches her completely off guard, her tears stopping instantly. Roge smiles, reminding her of the 10 years they spent traveling and laughing together. Lilian is left speechless, overwhelmed by the nostalgic and heartfelt offer. For a moment, the warmth of their shared past fills the humble cabin, but then Rose's smooth proposal hits a sudden internal speed bump. He realizes he's a 40-year-old asking a young woman to travel with him. Awkward. He assumes a successful 25-year-old woman would never agree to such a thing. His mind spirals, imagining her rejecting him with brutal, soul-crushing honesty. But her actual response leaves him utterly speechless. She confesses she's been dreaming of traveling with her teacher once again. Still in disbelief, he points to himself, asking if she's sure about this. Lillian firmly corrects him. He's not a dreary old man. He's a cool one. The compliment washes over him, a golden wave of pure validation. And GT. He's so moved he's on the verge of tears, thanking her for the kindness. And GT. She reaffirms her devotion, declaring he'll always be the most important person to her. With their new adventure set, she reaches into her bag for something important. An ancient grimoire flies open, its pages humming with forgotten power. Roge looks down, noticing something has fallen from her bag. As he reaches for the open book, a faint magical light glows from its pages. A look of absolute soul-shattering terror flashes across Lil's face. She screams at her teacher, pleading with him not to look inside, but his curiosity is piqued, his fingers already touching the mysterious text. Overwhelmed by sheer panic, she scrambles to stop him, and in a desperate lunge, she clocks him right over the head with her staff. The legendary sage lies defeated on the floor of his own humble cabin. She frantically explains it's her personal diary, utterly mortified by the close call. Roge just laughs it off, admitting it's the first time he's been physically attacked with a staff. She's completely mortified, imagining the sheer horror of him reading her diary. Roge just notes her impressive collection, calling her diligent. Eager to move on, she quickly changes the subject back to their adventure. Roge thinks for a moment before remembering he is just the thing they need. He unfurls a large map revealing the lands bordering the Kaiserland Empire. This is the kingdom of Dalga, where he'd hoped to live out his days in peace. So much for that plan. But Lillian's eyes light up as she points to a specific landmark on the map. She asks if he remembers the Gauss volcano, a place that brings back memories. The fiery landscape of the volcano fills the frame, the very place they first met. She hesitates for a moment, a new proposal forming on her lips. She proposes they retrace the path of their very first journey together. Roge wholeheartedly agrees, deciding this adventure will be for her sake. He admits her nostalgic plan sounds far more exciting than his own. Her face lights up with pure, unadulterated joy at his acceptance. With their new quest decided, Roge heads off to prepare for the road. His eyes fall upon an old staff, a relic of his past life as an adventurer. He gently takes it down, apologizing for letting it gather dust in his retirement. Dressed in his old adventuring gear, the sage is officially back in business. But just as they're about to set off, he stops with a sudden thought. He asks her to wait, announcing a quick detour to the Empire. Seems someone needs a lesson in consequences. He calmly announces his plan to go scold the prince and his fiancée. The casual threat sends a wave of pure terror through Lillian. She desperately grabs onto him, pleading for him to reconsider. She knows his scolding is a death sentence for the royals. He tries to reassure her it's just a little warning. Sure it is, buddy. In her panic, she presses against him, try to physically stop him. The legendary sage is completely flustered by the unexpected contact. She argues his warning could accidentally level the entire empire. Defeated by her plea and his own embarrassment, he finally relents. Though the crisis is averted, Roge is still reeling from the encounter. Lillian is deeply moved by his willingness to defend her honor, but her gratitude only makes the flustered sage more uncomfortable. He quickly changes the subject, eager to begin their journey. Raising his staff, Roge declares their destination, the Gauss volcano. Lillian looks on in awe, forever impressed by her teacher's power. She knows that large-scale teleportation requires a massive magic circle, but Roge developed his own logic, allowing him to cast it with a simple chant. She's thrilled to experience his legendary teleportation magic once again. As the world dissolves into light, he quietly speaks her name. He hopes this slow-paced journey will finally bring her some peace. They arrive at the Gao volcano, the air thick with oppressive heat. But for Lillian, the sweltering air is a welcome wave of nostalgia. Roge decides a little climate control is in order, casting a cooling spell. A refreshing breeze envelopes Lillian, who marvels at her teacher's effortless power. He humbly explains it's just the result of endless training, which left him a 40-year-old sage with no girlfriend. Her attention is suddenly captured by a specific boulder in the distance. With a burst of magical energy, she gracefully leaps across the rocky terrain. She soars through the air, a picture of pure joy and freedom. Roge watches her, his expression a mixture of fondness and mild exhaustion. She lands beside the rock, reminding him this was where he first found her. She points to the ground where craters from his meteor shooter still scar the land. Raj is impressed, noting she was only 5 years old at the time, but she insists the memory is as vivid as if it were yesterday. She even remembers the specific colors of his all-attribute barrier. Her incredible memory of the event leaves him utterly speechless. As they reminisce, the memory of the dragon they faced looms over them. But while she's lost in nostalgia, Raj's expression shifts to alarm because their old training partner has returned and it looks absolutely furious. The two adventurers snap back to reality, realizing their reunion is no longer private. And it seems they got so carried away reminiscing they forgot who else lives here. Roj tries to apologize, explaining they're just passing through. Lylan screams for him to get away as the dragon prepares to attack, but it's too late. The beast unleashes a point-blank blast of fire. With a single hand, Roj holds back the inferno, his jaw clenched. The flames are deflected by a simple, yet powerful magical shield. Lillian realizes this isn't the legendary all-attribute barrier from their past. Roj casually explains he's conserving energy due to a lack of sleep. He admits his younger self would have been flashier, but he's too old for that now. The dragon just stares, clearly not sure what to make of this low-effort defense. As Roj wonders how to end this, Lillian eagerly calls out to her teacher. She practically begs him to go all out, eager to learn more of his magic. Roj takes a moment, a plan already forming in his mind. He agrees, deciding this is the perfect chance for some rehabilitation. A vast and intricate magic circle erupts before the stunned dragon. But it's not just the dragon who's left completely speechless. Lylan recognizes the ancient runes, realizing the sheer scale of his spell. He calmly utters the first part of the spell's name, Ancientia, and unleashes his signature move, the very same meteor shooter from their past. A torrent of arcane energy slams directly into the dragon's chest. But this time, it's not a shower of rocks. It's a full-blown laser light show of doom. The sheer force of the spell sends Lilion stumbling back in awe. As the dust settles, the dragon lies defeated, a testament to Ro's power. He calmly explains this was just a demonstration, not a death blow. He offers a gentle smile, as if he didn't just obliterate the beast, can only growl in submission, acknowledging the sage's overwhelming strength. With the lesson learned, the dragon wisely retreats into the sky. Roj notes the dragon seems smaller, hoping he didn't just bully a child. But his thoughts are interrupted by Lillian, who is practically vibrating with excitement. She struggles to find the words, her mind racing to comprehend what she just saw. She finally asks the question burning in her mind. Has he mastered ancient magic? Raj scratches his head, casually admitting he might have forgotten to mention it. Lylan is floored, demanding to know what he means by a lot has happened. She asks if he's the first person in modern times to decipher the ancient grimmers. He confirms it was 5 years ago, a revelation that horrifies Lillian. With renewed determination, she begs her former teacher to take her on as a student again. She grabs him, clarifying her desperate desire to learn ancient magic. She admits she thought she was finally catching up, only to be left in the dust once more. He agrees to teach her, but only if she lets go of him first. A classic escape tactic. Her pure, unbridled joy is a little too much for the flustered sage's heart. With a lesson plan set, the master and disciple continue their journey. Roj reflects on her childlike clinginess, which was cute then, but is a bit much now. He's worried their age gap might give people the wrong impression. A very wrong impression. They arrive at the town of Palm, a place that holds many memories for them. She hopes they'll be remembered, and Roj assures her the people there were kind, but their welcome is less than warm as a guard rudely dismisses the old man. Raj tries to play it cool, but the guard is clearly in no mood for travelers. He explains the heightened security is due to increased trade and suspicious activity. Their entry is denied based on Ro's less than official ID. Unemployed isn't a great look. Roj tries to clarify his profession, but only makes things worse by mentioning he makes drugs. Realizing he's dug himself into a hole, Lillian prepares to take matters into her own hands. But the guard's tune changes instantly when Lillian claims she's also unemployed. He explains her past, as a royal court magician grants her passage, regardless of current status. With the guards now completely charmed, Lillian prepares to make her case. She explains their master-disciple relationship, asking them to let Raj pass with her. The guards immediately accept her story about a journey to perfect their magic. With the gate now open, Lillian thanks them as they finally enter the town. Roj is baffled by the effort, knowing he could have just teleported them past the wall. But a glance back reveals the guards' friendly smiles have turned to cold suspicion. Their inner monologue reveals a much less wholesome interpretation of their relationship. Roj realizes their polite demeanor was just a mask for their judgmental thoughts. Roj worries he looks suspicious, even considering shaving his beard. The scene cuts away to the Kaiserland Empire inside the second prince's private chambers. Prince Thrush sits intimately with a purple-haired woman looking out the window. He and his fiancée, Isabel, are celebrating Liliane's recent expulsion. Isabel expresses her relief that the eyesore is finally gone from her sight. The prince embraces her, declaring he would do anything for her love. But behind the facade, his eyes are cold, his thoughts purely political. He only fired Liliane to appease Isabel and secure their engagement. His true motive is even pettier. This is punishment for Liliane rejecting him. Isabel then reveals her own ambition, asking to be made the new chief court magician. Prince Thrush agrees, confident his message has been clearly sent. Isabel whispers words of devotion, sealing their manipulative but their private celebration is suddenly cut short by an interruption. A servant announces an important visitor, Minister Pelvis from the Kingdom of Dalga. Isabel immediately sees an opportunity, asking to be introduced to the influential figure. The prince explains the minister is here to inspect the Empire's magical defenses. With a smug grin, she reveals she's arranged it, eager to debut as the new chief. Prince Thrush simply smiles, indulging his fiancée's naked ambition. He internally notes her assertiveness, content to let her have this small victory. But his thoughts turn darker, revealing who truly holds power in the kingdom. Him. Prince Thrush and Isabel rush to greet their important guest. The visitor, Minister Pelvis, acknowledges the prince with a knowing smile. After a formal welcome, Pelvis's gaze shifts to the woman beside the prince. He seems momentarily confused, as if he was expecting someone else entirely. Isabel steps forward, introducing herself with a dramatic rose-filled flourish. The prince proudly presents her as his fiancée and the new chief court mage. Minister Pelvis finds this development strange, a detail that doesn't quite add up. He notes that the reputation of the Empire's chief mage preceded her. But the name he recalls is Lilan, forcing the prince to invent a lie about her retirement. Pelvis laments the loss of such a talent, a comment that clearly irritates Isabel. Isabel smugly accepts the title, promising a performance worthy of her new rank. Minister Pelvis offers a polite apology, masking his true thoughts on the matter. The prince leads them to a vast chamber, revealing the Empire's massive golem army. Pelvis looks on, genuinely impressed by the sheer scale of their military might. Prince Thrush boasts that each golem can wield magic of every known attribute. He explains their tiered system with larger golems handling all-ground combat. Pelvis offers his praise, but the prince internally scoffs at the minister's awe. He continues his intimidation, mentioning even larger 55M golems at the border. With a sly grin, the prince puts Isabel on the spot, asking for a demonstration. She eagerly accepts the challenge, ready to prove her power to their guest. Isabel places a hand on the golem, channeling her magic into its core. Minister Pelvis continues his polite praise for their impressive military might, but his words strike a nerve when he credits the king and the first prince. Prince Thrush's smile tightens, his silence speaking volumes. He clarifies that with his father ill and brother away, he made the appointment. With a chilling smile, he reminds the minister who's currently running the show. Pelvis offers a simple, almost patronizing acknowledgement of the prince's claim. The prince quickly smooths things over, accepting the minister's fig-net apology. But Pelvis's internal thoughts reveal he sees the prince as a difficult, arrogant youth. Their tense exchange is cut short as Isabel announces her preparations are complete. Minister Pelvis looks on with keen interest while the prince smirks confidently. Isabel begins her demonstration, commanding the massive golem with a simple gesture. The automaton responds instantly, raising its arms with surprising precision. She basks in the minister's apparent awe, her performance going exactly as planned, but Pelvis's sharp eye catches a detail, asking about the intricate magic circle. The prince quickly intervenes, hiding Isabel's ignorance behind classified information. Pelvis plays along, offering more praise while the prince accepts it graciously. With the demonstration seemingly over, they prepare to discuss more formal matters. But the guard's calm demeanor shatters as they notice something terribly wrong. The golem's eye glows with a menacing light, its movements no longer controlled. The guards scream in terror, urging Minister Pelvis to get back at once. The prince and Isabel are frozen in shock, while Pelvis remains utterly confused. As the golem's hand descends, Pelvis calmly asks what the rush is about. So much for diplomatic immunity. Later, the prince tries to downplay the incident, calling it a little accident. He furiously reminds her that only Pelvis's quick-thinking servants prevented a disaster. Isabel argues it was a minor miscalculation, but the prince knows they were one step away from war. Losing his patience, the prince silences her with a sharp stomp on her foot. He grabs her, questioning if she's ever handled national defense magic before. He accuses her of letting Lillian handle all the real work, a truth that hits her hard. Utterly humiliated, Isabel can only tremble in silence. Her arrogance completely shattered, Isabel desperately tries to defend herself, but the prince silences her. His anger gives way to pure panic as he realizes his entire scheme is at risk. Meanwhile, back in Palom's, Lillian's attention is captured by something new. She's completely mesmerized by a stall selling a popular drink called tapioca. With childlike excitement, she rushes off to try it, leaving Raj behind. He realizes her demanding job left her completely out of touch with modern trends. Rose takes in the bustling town, noting how much it's changed over the years, but his quiet reflection is interrupted by Lillian's return. She's clearly not a fan of the chewy drink, her face a mask of pure disgust. As she happily skips away for ice cream, he sips the drink, amused by her childish side. But his brain short-circuits, realizing he just committed an indirect kiss. His panic is interrupted by Lillian, who happily returns with ice cream for them both. Now it's her turn to blush. Worried people will think they're on a date. And from a distance, a woman's thoughts confirm their worst fears. Her voice suddenly cuts through their awkwardness, calling out to them. The scene shifts to the local adventurers guild, a familiar haunt from their past. Inside, they're greeted by an old friend, a woman named Sarah. She welcomes them with a warm, booming laugh, clearly happy to see them. Rose recalls she was once the guild's beloved receptionist who looked after Lillian. He's surprised to learn she's now the guild master, having taken over after the last one retired. Lillian jokes about the old guild master unknowingly hitting Rose's age insecurity. Sarah asks about their plans, sparking a nostalgic idea in Lillian's mind. She eagerly proposes they take on a quest for old times' sake, but Raj feels out of place among the guild's much younger adventurers. Sarah and Lillian quickly reassure him, insisting the sage is always welcome. The master and disciple share a quiet, thoughtful moment, the idea settling in. They approach the quest board, a familiar sight from their shared past. Lillian's eyes light up as she spots the perfect nostalgic mission. Sarah leans in, curious to see what has caught her friend's attention. It's a simple rankery goblin subjugation quest. For old time's sake. Sarah points out it's just a beginner's quest, but Lillian is perfectly fine with it. The guild master smiles, realizing it's because it reminds her of their very first mission. But a mischievous thought crosses Sarah's mind, leaving Roge completely puzzled. She leans in with a sly grin, asking if they'd be willing to do her a little favor. With a flick of her wrist, she points to a completely different request on the board. Their eyes widen as they read the new mission, a rank A cave dragon subjugation. The quest details a fearsome, crystal-covered beast known for its violent temper. Sarah explains with a weary sigh that the dragon has been terrorizing the local area. Roge accepts without a second thought, much to the guildum's utter disbelief. But Lillian just smiles, confident that for her teacher, this is just another Tuesday. Sarah can only laugh, admitting they're an extraordinary pair. As she prepares the official quest seal, other adventurers whisper in disbelief, but Ro is unfazed, eager to set out on their mission before nightfall. Their departure is cut short by an obnoxious shout from the entrance. A trio of adventurers bursts in, led by a cocky, red-haired swordsman. He immediately singles out Raj, demanding to know why an old man is here. Ro's polite smile falters as the young adventurer gets right in his face. He accuses Roge of ruining the guild's reputation and orders him to leave. Guess someone missed the memo on respecting your elders. Ro tries to politely excuse himself, chalking it up to youthful arrogance, but the arrogant trio isn't finished, blocking their path to the exit. But Ro's attempt to leave is cut short by a sharp command. The red-haired swordsman grabs Lillian, introducing himself as LB Boy. He offers her money, suggesting she ditch the old man for someone better. His proposal is met with a swift and brutal elbow to the stomach. Her eyes swirl with fury as she delivers a chilling warning not to touch her. The entire guild falls silent, watching the confrontation with bated breath. The once cocky adventurer screams in terror, completely unnerved by her reaction. It seems his unwanted attention has awakened a very dark and familiar trauma. Loud Boy clutches his gut, trying to regain some semblance of dignity, but Lillian has already dismissed him, turning back to her teacher with a smile. Undeterred, Little Boy gets back in Ro's face, demanding his attention. He grills Roge about his relationship with Lillian and his age. The answer sends him into a fit of laughter, accusing Roge of being a sugar daddy, but a sharp voice cuts through the mockery, demanding silence. Lillian steps forward, her fist clenched, calling out his blatant disrespect. Roge can only watch as his disciple moves to defend him. She passionately declares that her teacher is a kind man whom she deeply respects. But then she turns on Roj, scolding him for being too passive. She's frustrated that he just stood there and let them mock him for his age. Overwhelmed by her fierce loyalty, Roj can only offer a flustered apology. He finally admits his true fear that their age gap would make her. Lillian is taken aback, realizing his self-deprecation was all for her sake. The two quickly reconcile, their mutual respect overriding the awkwardness, but their heartfelt moment is completely lost on the fuming loud boy. He interrupts, accusing them of getting lost in their own little world. He then turns to Sarah, demanding to know their destination. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he learns of their mission. With a new plan in mind, he turns back to confront the sage. He throws down a challenge, a race to see who can kill the dragon first, because that's a totally normal thing to do. His own companion tries to talk him down, reminding him of the monster's reputation. His companion agrees, figuring the quest can't be that hard if an old man got it. Loud Boy turns to Lillian, vowing to defeat her teacher to prove his superiority. He sneers that chasing after an old man is a complete waste of her time. He then raises the stakes, declaring Lillian will be his prize if he wins. Real charming. But Lillian erupts, fiercely defending her master's honor and character. Later, Loud Boy's party heads out with him, mocking those who blindly follow others. He scoffs that a weak master can only produce an equally weak disciple. They soon arrive at Zod's cave, finding it swarming with low-level goblins. LB Boy smirks, preparing a simple spell he deems more than enough for the task. Back at the guild, Sarah explains the source of his arrogance. He's a nobleman's son, and his family funds the guild, which explains everything. She apologizes for the trouble, but they wave it off, ready to leave, but she asks them to keep an eye on the arrogant trio, fearing for their lives. Roj agrees, hoping the young adventurer's skill matches his ego. But Lillian can't understand why her teacher would help such a disrespectful person. They soon arrive at the cave, but something feels off. The entrance is strangely quiet with no sign of the goblin horde. Lillian spots the reason. The goblins are all fast asleep. Or more accurately, they've been completely knocked out cold. She senses a faint magical trace, deciding to investigate the strange scene. Roj deduces that only an A-rank spell could have caused this level of incapacitation. As they venture deeper, Lillian's faith in her master remains unshakable. She casts a simple spell, summoning a gentle orb of light to guide their way. Roj looks on with a proud smile, impressed by her elegant display of magic. He compliments her on the efficiency of her spell, noting how much she's improved. Lillian blushes, happily giving all the credit to her teacher's guidance. Raj suggests they check for stragglers as they move deeper into the cave. He warns that an undiscovered nest could pose a serious problem for them, but their path is suddenly blocked by a very awake and very angry goblin horde. Roj realizes Loud Boy simply ignored them, leaving the cleanup crew to handle it. So considerate, but Lillian steps forward confidently, declaring she'll handle this herself. The goblins screech, charging forward with mindless, feral rage. In an instant, the master and disciple find themselves completely surrounded. With a determined shout, she unleashes a barrage of fire arrows. The spell erupts in a storm of fire, decimating the goblin ranks with ease. Roj watches in awe, impressed by the incredible precision of her spell. He notes her flawless execution, casting multiple spells without any wasted energy. The sage can only smile, his heart swelling with pride for his disciple. She turns back with a triumphant smile, announcing the path is clear. He praises her efficiency, but she just blushes, happy to handle it herself. They venture deeper into a cavern glittering with eerie purple crystals. Lillian worries about L-Boy, sensing they're approaching the dragon's lair. She then asks a simple question. Why not use a detection spell to find them? Roj pauses, the obvious solution having completely slipped his mind. He admits his oversight, wondering if he's losing his touch, but Lillian quickly shuts that down. Embarrassed, the sage decides it's time to prove he's still got it. He unleashes a powerful detection spell, sending a wave of magic through the cave. The energy spreads like a web, mapping every corner of the cavern in an instant, and it immediately locates Old Boy's party, who are running for their lives. Because the cave dragon is right on their tail, and it does not look happy. Lad Boy grits his teeth, channeling what little magic he has left into his blade. He unleashes the A-rank spell, Coma Sleep with a desperate shout. The powerful magic flares brightly before fading from his hand. He realizes he wasted all his energy on the goblins. So much for saving it for the boss. And right on cue, the cave dragon lunges forward with a furious roar. He rushes to his companion's side, trying to shield him from the attack. But it's too late. His friend lies battered and unconscious on the cavern floor. From a safe distance, Roge and Lillian watch the chaos unfold. They peer into the lair, hoping the arrogant trio is still alive. Roge can only wonder what kind of mess these kids have gotten themselves into. The screams of the arrogant adventurers echo through the cavern. His companion is down, bleeding and unconscious on the cave floor. Little boy turns back, his face a mask of panic and grim determination. He knows he's nearly out of magic, but he has to do something. With a desperate grunt, he channels the last of his energy into a healing spell. The cave dragon watches with amusement as he prepares his final move. A wave of green light erupts from his hands, meant to save his friends, but his control slips and the spell explodes with far too much power. Rose and Lillian are stunned as the kid's spell goes completely off the rails. Lad Boy realizes his fatal error. He's about to give the boss a full health restore. The dragon smirks as the healing energy washes over it. This is not going according to plan. Utterly spent, Little Boy can only tell his companions to save themselves. His friends look on in horror, calling out his name in disbelief. He shoves them back, vowing to buy them enough time to escape. He curses his own weakness, frustrated by his repeated pathetic failures. A memory surfaces of a younger boy, convinced of his own special destiny. But once again, his arrogance has led him straight into disaster. Tears stream down his face as he finally admits his own foolishness. But just as the dragon strikes, a massive magical barrier erupts from nowhere. Lad Boy and his party are stunned, completely baffled by the sudden intervention. Roge stands before them, his expression calm as he erects the barrier. He appears from nowhere, a beacon of power before the stunned adventurers. Little Boy can only stare, recognizing the very man he'd just mocked. Roge turns with a smile, asking if the barrier was an S-rank spell. He points out that for someone so knowledgeable, he sure missed the memo on the dragon. Lillian calls down from above, but Roge calmly assures her everything is fine. The name Raj echoes in Little Boy's mind, a piece of a puzzle clicking into place. A faint smile plays on Rose's lips as the young adventurer connects the dots, but their reunion is cut short as the dragon unleashes a devastating energy beam. The attack slams into a wall of shimmering crystal held back by an unseen force. The cavern walls explode inward, trapping the arrogant trio in a cage of crystal. The dragon unleashes a furious roar, and Raj deadpants that it was a little scary. He decides it's time to stop playing games and end this fight for good. A glowing magic circle forms beneath him, launching him high into the air. He gracefully leaps over the beast, which can only watch in confusion. A vast complex magic circle materializes behind him in midair. His eyes glow with power as he utters the first word. Lad Boy is left speechless, witnessing a level of magic beyond his wildest dreams. A brilliant laser of pure arcane power erupts, slamming into the dragon's chest. The dragon recoils in pain, and its crystal armor, no match for the sage's power. The dragon crashes to the ground, defeated, as the three young adventurers stare in absolute silence. Boy can only stammer in disbelief, his mind struggling to process what just happened. He questions if it's really over, unable to believe the beast was felled in a single blow. Lylan rushes to her master's side, praising a feat even S-rank adventurers couldn't manage. Loy listens, his arrogance shattered as Raj casually claims he just got lucky. Finally finding his voice, the young adventurer calls out to the man he just mocked. He points a trembling finger, demanding to know if he is the legendary sage Roge. Ro is caught off guard as Boy recounts his feat of repelling a demon invasion. This is news to Lillian, who turns to her teacher, stunned by the revelation. Ro sheepishly admits he kept it quiet to avoid bragging, much to his disciple's shock. Lillian is mortified, admitting she was too buried in work to even read the news. As Raj sweats under the sudden spotlight, Boy prepares to formally introduce himself. He declares himself Boy Humberstone, heir to a noble house. The name rings a bell, and a distant memory clicks into place for Roge. He recognizes him as the kid he saved years ago, a fact Boy confirms with a deep, grateful bow. The scene flashes back 20 years to the source of this unexpected connection. A young boy was on his deathbed, but Roa's intervention saved his life. He watched his hero walk away, vowing to one day become just like him. That single moment fueled a lifetime of relentless magical training. But back in the present, his face is a mask of shame and regret. He explains that despite his efforts, his attack magic never grew stronger. His only talent was healing, a far cry from the power he idolized. He eventually gave up on his dream, a confession that hangs heavy in the air. Overcome with emotion, He admits his arrogance was just a mask for his insecurity. The dramatic, tear-filled apology leaves Roge completely flustered, but his companions rush to his defense, insisting he's a good person, just a little dense. They reveal his deepest secret. He's been desperate to become Ro's student. The entire party bows in unison, pleading for the sage to forgive their leader. Roge tries to defuse the situation, insisting he's not angry at all. Lillian seems he offers some sage advice, reminding the young man that everyone has their own unique talents. Raj sees potential in the young man's healing magic, suggesting a different path for him. He gives him a quick lesson on mana control, a lecture they seem to be taking to heart. Overwhelmed, LB Boy grabs Raj, vowing to follow him for the rest of his life. He then declares himself Roger's #1 disciple, sparking an instant rivalry with Lylan. Raj sigh, realizing he somehow just acquired a new very loud apprentice. Later that evening, the group returns to the town of PMS. News of the dragon's defeat has spread, and the entire town is celebrating. The adventurers who once doubted him now toast to his incredible victory. They all admit they pegged him as a washed-up old man. Gee, thanks for the vote of confidence. But Lillian isn't having it, fiercely defending her teacher from their backhanded compliments. Little Boy explodes, trying to teach the ignorant adventurers a lesson in respect. He proudly declares himself the sage's second apprentice, a title that earns him nothing but scorn. But Lillian quickly puts him in his place, scolding him for his newfound arrogance. From the counter, Sarah teases Raj about his growing fan club. Lillian reminds L-Boy that he's still on thin ice for his earlier behavior. He earnestly explains he only wanted to defend his new master's reputation. He mentions the demon invasion, a heroic deed that hits Lillian like a ton of bricks. The rivalry ignites as Lillian declares she knows the sage better than anyone. She then proceeds to list his most embarrassing secrets, much to Raj's horror. Sarah gluely adds to the list, confirming the legendary sage's greatest weakness. Lillian clings to him, demanding he confirm her status as his #1 apprentice. She insists she's the most special to him, the one who truly understands him. Ladboy tries to calm her down, but she tearfully declares him second place. Roge realizes the truth as a companion confirms she's had 5 mugs of ale. As the chaos continues, Sarah leans in with a question she's been dying to ask. She bluntly asks what his relationship with Lillian really is. The question of whether they're a couple makes Raj spit out his drink in shock. He furiously denies it, reminding them he's practically raised her since she was 5. But the other adventurers point out that her feelings seem to have changed over time. Sarah explains that after all these years, it wouldn't be strange if she fell for him. Roge explodes, furiously denying the claim as disrespectful to Lylan. The others can only watch as the sage completely loses his composure. He can't wrap his head around it, having only ever seen her as a daughter. In his mind, she's meant to marry someone her own age, like Ladboy. But even that thought feels wrong, leaving him a mess of conflicting as the night deepens. The rowdy celebration finally comes to an end. While Boy and his party are completely passed out on the guild floor. Lylan herself has drifted off, sleeping peacefully in a nearby chair. Ro gently drapes his cloak over her as a quiet calm settles over the room. He smiles, admitting to himself it's been ages since things were this lively. He notices her bag is open and decides to close it for her. But as he reaches for it, his eyes catch a glimpse of something inside. He sees a book with his own name written clearly on the page. The horrifying realization dawns on him. This must be her diary. A cold sweat breaks out as he fights the urge to look closer. All the while, Lillian sleeps on, completely unaware of his internal crisis. He forces himself to look away, determined to respect her, but fate intervenes as a book tumbles out, falling open on the floor. He tries not to look, but his gaze is drawn to the open pages. How's that for a sign from the universe? His name is written everywhere, and he desperately tries to rationalize it as simple note-taking gaking. He tries to convince himself she's just a very diligent student, but the words on the page tell a very, very different story. This isn't a notebook. It's a full-blown romantic fantasy starring him, and the author of his current nightmare sleeps soundly just a few feet away. The sage's brain completely short-circuits, and he face plants onto the table. He's spiraling, utterly mortified by what he's just discovered. In a moment of pure desperation, he begs Sarah for guidance. But the guild master can only offer him a look of profound disappointment. She admits that while he probably deserves this, she'll hear him out. She reminds him she saw this coming, but Raj is still in denial about his age. Sarah explains that to Lillian, he's a master and a father figure, but she believes Lillian fell for him simply as a person, not because of his titles. The sage can only sweat, his brain struggling to reboot after this revelation. Sarah sigh, preparing to deliver her final crucial piece of advice. She tells him not to make any rash decisions until he knows how to handle her feelings. And she delivers a stern warning. If he hurts Lillian, he'll have to answer to her. After all, he's the one who crossed the line by reading her private thoughts. She's not wrong. The next morning, a blissfully unaware Lillian waves a cheerful goodbye to the town. Sarah and the rest of the guild see them off with warm smiles and well wishes. But Raj looks back, his mind still reeling from the emotional minefield he just discovered. He's lost in thought, wondering how he's supposed to handle this new reality. He feels completely inadequate, questioning why she would ever see him that way. He reminds himself this is her trip, made possible by her reputation, not his. Her voice snaps him out of his spiral, and he can barely hide his panic. She offers to rest, and he quickly insists he's fine, already failing at playing it cool. He calls her name, and she turns with a smile that could power a small city. He finally asks the question weighing on his mind. Is she truly enjoying this trip? He awkwardly clarifies, hoping all the chaos hasn't ruined her chance to unwind. But her answer is a radiant, unequivocal declaration that she's having the time of her life. Her face is a picture of pure bliss, leaving no doubt about her feelings. Her pure joy only deepens his confusion, leaving him lost in thought. He forces a smile, agreeing that her happiness is all that matters. But their close bond is a little too much for their new tag-along. Even Loud Boy's own party members are surprised by his sudden change in attitude. Because it turns out Loud Boy has decided to join their journey, much to Lillian's fury. Roj decides to take it in stride, figuring he'll start with the basics for his new student. But Lillian is already having a hard time sharing her master's attention. She decides to show off, demonstrating a complex space storage spell. Both Roj and Loy watch in awe as she effortlessly manipulates the items. L-Boy is blown away, but Lillian humbly gives all the credit to her teacher. With a flourish, Lillian reveals a perfect picnic, leaving her companion speechless. Roj is flustered, realizing she's always prepared for his every possible need. She then presents her pièce de resistance, a special bread she calls Roj bread. A closer look reveals the bread is shaped like his face. Her diary is starting to make a lot more sense. Both Ro and L-Boy are completely horrified by this edible shrine. But Lillian is lost in her own world, basking in the glory of her creation. Roj forces a smile, while L-Boy complains her affection is a bit heavy. As Roj eagerly reaches for the food, Lillian happily offers to serve them. She's thrilled they like it, already vowing to bake a life-size version next time. He takes a bite, declaring it delicious. While L-Boy is still processing the situation, L-Boy takes a hesitant bite of the bread shaped like his new master, but he's immediately won over while Roj feels like he's witnessing a very weird form of cannibalism. After their unsettling picnic, the group continues their journey toward Wakano village. Lilan recalls visiting often, wondering how the villagers she knew are faring. But Ro's expression darkens, his words hinting at a grim possibility. His ominous tone leaves both Lillian and L-Boy completely confused. Without another word, Roj picks up the pace, urging them to hurry. He explains that something feels deeply wrong with the forest around them. The trees are blackened and dying, a corruption that wasn't here years ago. A horrifying thought strikes Roj as he realizes what this blight could mean. Ro's worst fears are confirmed as he identifies the source of the corruption. The air itself is thick with a deadly miasma, choking the life from the land. He can't understand how this could happen. A plague this severe, so close to civilization. Inside, a group of medics argues over a difficult choice: containment or rescue. A man named Bernard is reminded of his duty as part of the kingdom's medical corps, but he argues their true purpose is to contain the miasma, saving everyone outside the village. He orders his subordinate, Constanza, to begin erecting the containment barrier. Roj rushes forward, trying to stop them before they seal the village off for good. The medics warn him away, but Raj quickly announces his authority as the sage. The name catches Bernard off guard, and Lillian introduces herself to add to their credibility. Roj steps forward, asking for details on the miasma and offering his help. Bernard explains the cause is a mystery. The plague simply appeared without warning. He describes its horrifying effects, a cellular decay that makes bodies crack and bleed. To make matters worse, he admits there's no known cure or counter-magic. Lillian refuses to accept this, insisting they have to save the villagers now. But Bernard coldly dismisses her plea as unacceptable. He announces the palace's official decision. The village will be sealed off. The trio is stunned into silence by the brutal finality of his words. He repeats the order, leaving no room for argument. So much for due process. Once the barrier is deployed, he explains, entry and exit will be impossible for anyone. Roge grabs the medic, refusing to believe King Siege would issue such a cruel order. He desperately pleads for just a little more time, certain he can find solution. But Bernard explodes with rage, grabbing the sage and telling him to face reality. Lillian and Loudboy can only watch, stunned by the medic's raw fury. The other medics step in, defending their leader's impossible, heartbreaking choice. Bernard explains that he accepted this grim duty for a very specific reason. He roars that this is to protect everyone outside the village, including them. The weight of that responsibility hits Roge, silencing his protests for a moment. His disciples look on, the gravity of the situation finally sinking in. Just then, Constanza reports that the barrier magic circle is ready to be activated. But Rosehan shoots out, stopping the medic with a desperate shout. He admits Bernard's logic is sound, but he simply cannot back down. He passionately declares that just as Bernard has a duty, he has one as a mage. Bernard listens, acknowledging that this is a long shot with no guarantee of success. Roge grabs him, pleading for him to understand that he can't just stand by and watch. He reveals his personal connection to the village, begging for just 10 minutes. The medic's resolve seems to waver as he considers the sage's desperate plea. Lillian steps forward, adding her own voice to the desperate request. She insists her master has cured countless impossible illnesses before. But Bernard snaps, reminding her this isn't a disease. It's a fast-spreading plague. But Lillian recalls something from an old magic book, a potential solution for her master. She suggests a form of ancient magic, a miasma protector, stunning the medics. Ladboy explains it's a lost art capable of recreating impossible technologies. Lillian adds that as far as she knows, only Roge is capable of using it now. With a determined look, she insists it's a chance they absolutely have to take. The other medics join in, begging Bernard to reconsider for the villagers' sake. Bernard's fist trembles, his cold resolve finally beginning to his own subordinate looks to him, her eyes pleading for him to listen. He turns to Roge, his voice filled with desperation, asking if he can really save them. Lillian and Loudboy beam with pride, their faith in their master never stronger. The other medics look to their leader, their hope rekindled by the sage's words. Bernard admits he has no idea if this will work, his voice heavy with doubt. But Roge roars back that he refuses to give up on the people inside. Moved by his conviction, Bernard finally relents, vowing to try everything he can. He gives the sage a strict time limit, exactly 10 minutes. Lillian and L-Boy celebrate the small victory as Bernard warns him not to be late. Without a second to waste, Roge unleashes the legendary Ancientia Protect spell. No pressure, of course. A golden aura envelopes him as he channels the ancient forgotten magic. Bernard stares in awe, feeling the intricate power of the protective barrier. With the spell active, Raj tells the medic to lead the way, ready to face the plague. Lillian tries to follow, but Roge orders her to stay put for her own safety. The female medic, Constanzi, watches her leader with a worried expression. Ladboy confirms his team is on standby, ready to activate the barrier at a moment's notice. Rose and Bernard rush into the desolate village, leaving a concerned Lillian behind. She clenches her fist, feeling utterly powerless to help her master. L-Boy approaches, asking if there's anything he can do to help her. His usual arrogance is gone, replaced by a look of genuine concern. Lillian stares into the distance, her mind erasing as she considers her next move. A flicker of resolve appears in her eyes as she comes to a decision. She turns to Loudboy, ordering him to assist with the barrier preparations. Looks like she's in charge now. Bernard explains the sick have been gathered inside the village church. The two men push open the heavy doors, stepping into the heart of the plague. But nothing could have prepared Roge for the horrifying sight that awaits them. The entire church floor is covered with the bodies of the sick and dying. Their faces are covered in black lesions, their breathing shallow and pained. The miasma causes their very skin to crack and bleed, a truly gruesome sight. Bernard admits their medical efforts have been futile, only able to slow the bleeding. Roge leans in for a closer look, his mind racing to understand the plague's nature. He questions Bernard's theory, wondering why cellular separation would cause cracking. He realizes something is missing. The symptoms just don't add up. A sudden, horrifying realization dawns on Rose's face. He decides to use another ancient spell, a full diagnostic scan. A complex, magical interface materializes, analyzing the patient's vitals. Bernard is stunned by the display, demanding to know what Roge has found. Roge explains it's a detailed report written in an ancient language. The scan reveals the true cause. Runaway nanomachines are destroying their cells. Just your average Tuesday. Bernard curses, completely lost on how to fight this unknown enemy. But Roge looks up, a newfound confidence in his eyes. He explains that if it's nanomachines, there's a specific counterspell. With a triumphant smile, he declares that they can save everyone after all. Roge focuses his power, uttering the words to another ancient spell, Nano-Absorb. A wave of brilliant blue energy erupts from him, washing over the entire church. The energy seems to target the miasma, drawing it out from the villagers' bodies. Bernard watches in disbelief as the plague is literally pulled from the sick. Roge corrects him, explaining he's not removing miasma, but the nanomachines themselves. He gives a quick lesson on ancient tech, explaining their original helpful purpose. But after centuries, he theorizes their programming has gone completely haywire. Meanwhile, outside, Lillian recalls the first time she met her incredible teacher. She remembers it wasn't just childish admiration. Everyone adored and thanked him. From the very beginning, she knew he was a hero who brought happiness to others. More than just a hero, she admits he was the one who made her happy. This happiness was shadowed by a childhood fear of being abandoned again. Even now, she feels insecure, struggling to keep up with his incredible power. Her greatest fear has always been the day he would leave her behind. Now, being told to simply wait feels like a confirmation of her uselessness. All she's ever wanted is to be an equal, standing proudly by his side, but she worries that to him she's still just a little girl following in his shadow. The thought of him walking away, leaving her behind, fills her with terror. Overwhelmed by her own feelings of inadequacy, she begins to break down. Lad Boy, ever the gentleman, suggests a less emotional and more direct approach. Lillian stares back, her expression a perfect blend of annoyance and disbelief. She dismisses him completely, deciding it was a mistake to confide in an idiot. But Lil Boy cuts right to the chase, accusing her of loving her teacher as a man. He calls her out, asking how she can deny it after writing so many fantasies about him. Lillian freezes, her mind going completely blank with the shock of being exposed. She stammers, demanding to know how he could possibly know about her private thoughts. He reminds her of the previous night when she drunkenly read her diary entries aloud to him. In fact, she apparently ordered him to memorize the first 2 chapters. Talk about oversharing. The horrifying memory comes flooding back and Lillian's brain completely short-circuits. She collapses in utter despair, convinced her life is officially over. Lad Boy offers his own brand of wisdom, which is somehow worse than silence. But their argument is cut short as Constanzi points toward the village. The medics watch in disbelief as the dark miasma is pulled from the village. A swirling vortex of light now hangs over the entrance, a sign of the sage's power. Lillian's despair vanishes, replaced by stunned silence. Lil Boy celebrates his faith in the sage, completely validated. But Lillian seems unimpressed by his cheering, her eyes fixed on the display. A small, knowing smile spreads across her face. She never doubted him for a second. Just then, Roge emerges from the village, calling out to his students. Constanza immediately approaches, asking for a report on the situation inside. Roge emerges with a triumphant smile, announcing he's removed the cause. The medics, led by Constanzi, are completely floored by the news. The entire group erupts in a massive cheer, celebrating the impossible victory, but Roge quickly brings them back to reality, reminding them the villagers still need medical care. Constance takes charge, ordering her team to the church to assist Bernard. Roge then turns to LB, asking him to lend his aid as well. He explains that Lil Boy's healing magic is the key to helping the exhausted medics. Eager to prove his worth, Lil Boy accepts the mission, finally a chance to be useful. As the others rush off, Roge tells Lillian that she's coming with him. He reveals their work isn't done. They still have to find a monster responsible. As they venture into the corrupted forest, Lillian calls out to her master. She stops, suddenly wondering if she should have stayed behind with the others. She admits that at her current level, she feels like she's just a burden to him. Ro is stunned, asking why on earth she would ever think that. He presses for an answer, but she can only say it's just a feeling she has. But Roge turns the tables, insisting that he's the one who's being helped. He admits he's a bit drained after casting so many powerful spells in a row. He couldn't have been so reckless without her there, offering a sincere thank you. Lillian is left speechless, his words hitting her harder than she expected. Roge turns away, admitting she's the one who deserves thanks for always looking out for him. Lillian blushes, realizing how foolish she was for sulking over such trivial things. She leans against him, admitting to herself that she truly deeply loves her teacher, and she wonders if it's selfish to hope he might one day feel the same way. But their quiet moment is shattered by a cracking sound from the darkened woods. A monstrous wolf with glowing red eyes emerges, its jaws dripping with blood. Lilan leaps into action, unleashing a powerful highest flame pillar. A vortex of fire erupts from her staff, engulfing the beast completely. The wolf snarls, trapped within the inferno of her devastating spell. The flames roar, cooking the monster where it stands. Well, that's one way to handle it. She watches with cold focus as the creature howls in its fiery prison, but the beast is shrouded in miasma, which begins to extinguish the flames. Lillian calls to her master, preparing a binding spell and asking for his support. She unleashes a steel rope spell, ensnaring the corrupted wolf in magical chains. Roge leaps forward, ready to cast the same spell he used on the villagers. He unleashes Ancient Nano-Absorb, targeting the source of the beast's power. The wolf howls in agony as the nano-machines are forcibly ripped from its body. The sage floats above, drawing out the last of the corruption with ease. Teamwork makes the dream work, I guess. Later, back at the church, Roge explains the nature of the capture miasma. He holds up a vial, confirming this is the source of the nanomachine plague. Bernard agrees, taking the sample to study it, hoping to prevent another outbreak. Bernard admits he hasn't felt this useless since he was a rookie. Meanwhile, LB Boy is completely passed out from magical exhaustion. Constanza explains he gave her his mana until he couldn't even move. Bernard praises Roge, crediting Lil Boy's sacrifice for healing the villagers. Roge just smiles, joking that the kid has certainly earned his dinner. Right on cue, one of the medics announces that the meal is ready. Lillian cheerfully drags the semi-conscious Loud Boy off to eat. He looks thrilled. She calls back to Roge, but he seems lost in thought for a moment. Just then, Bernard approaches with an urgent message from the royal palace. He relays King Say's order. Find Sage Roge as soon as possible. Looks like our boy is in demand. Bernard explains the king had already planned to request Rose's assistance. He then offers a sincere apology for his earlier desperate actions, but his composure suddenly breaks and he grabs the sage by the collar. The man's grip is tight, his face a mask of raw, unfiltered emotion. He confesses that he truly believed the entire village was doomed. Tears stream down his face as he offers a heartfelt, desperate thank you. Raj can only scratch his head, a little flustered by the sudden display. As the medic clings to him, a familiar face watches from the Lillian smiles, her heart swelling with pride for her incredible teacher. Inside, the church is filled with life again. As the villagers finally receive care, inspired by the day's events, Loud Boy makes a bold declaration to Constanzi. She points out his current state, completely paralyzed and being spoon-fed by a medic. He explains that after eating, he'll make his request, sharing a lesson from his master. He finishes his thought, declaring one should always do what they want to do. His simple, direct words seem to strike a chord with the young medic. But when he asks Rowan Bernard, he's met with a swift and brutal rejection. Bernard bluntly asks why he'd ever let a muscle-headed idiot join his ranks. His companions are shocked that a noble is being treated with such disrespect. But Old Boy refuses to back down, his determination unwavering. He quotes the sage's own words, arguing there's a place for everyone, even him. LB Boy declares he doesn't care if he's just used as a mana battery. He explains that joining the Corps is his way of following in his master's footsteps. He begs for a chance, his desperation clear as Roge looks on, but Bernard isn't impressed, stating that good intentions aren't enough for this job. He explains the harsh reality of their duties, from tracking miasma to combat. He tells the young noble to stop asking for handouts and take the official exam. The medic's outburst leaves Roge quietly observing how terrifying the man can be. Roge finally speaks up, reminding Bernard that Little Boy has guts at least. Bernard misreads the situation, thinking Roge is trying to dump his new student on him. But Raj clarifies, simply asking that they give the kid a chance to get some experience. Roge practically begs Bernard, asking him to just show the kid the ropes. Lillian watches the exchange, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then to everyone's surprise, she bows deeply, adding her voice to the plea. She defends Little Boy, admitting he's a fool, but insisting his heart is in the right place. The young noble can only stare, moved by her unexpected support. Worn down by their passion, Bernard finally relents with a heavy sigh. Loud Boy is overcome with joy, his face a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. The other medics tease their leader, revealing his well-known weakness for passionate people. Ro and Lillian share a knowing smile, pleased with their successful intervention. She steals a quick glance at her master, sharing in the quiet victory. Roge can't help but laugh at the chaotic but heartwarming scene. Lillian, however, seems a little lost in her own thoughts. Later that night, Roj tries to relax, wondering when his vacation turned into a training exercise. He worries that all the chaos is taking a much greater toll on Lily Ann, but his quiet moment is interrupted as the door to the bath slides open. Roj freezes, his brain completely short-circuiting for the second time in 2 days. Lillian looks just as flustered, a nervous sweat beading on her face. She apologizes for the intrusion, clutching her towel tightly. And then she gets in the water as Roj silently begs for an escape route. He's left wondering how his relaxing bath turned into the most awkward moment of his life. The silence is deafening as Lily Ann clutches her towel. Both of them trapped in it. Turns out this whole situation was orchestrated by Lil Boy's well-meaning but clueless companion. He'd urged Lily Ann to seize the opportunity, pointing out that she was tired too. He even suggested she scrub her master's back, a plan Lily Ann politely declined. As she walked away, she muttered that dealing with idiots was giving her a headache. But despite her annoyance, she admits to herself that the fool might have a point. She realizes that if she doesn't act, he'll only ever see her as his student. Back in the present, Roj finally breaks the tension, startling her from her thoughts. He then announces he's getting out, practically launching himself in the water to escape. But Lillian stops him with a simple request to please look the other way. Raj panics, desperately trying to put a stop to this entire situation. She explains she just wanted a chance to talk, asking if it's too much trouble. The sage is still sweating, completely baffled by her choice of venue for a heart-to-heart. He questions the logic of talking in a bath, and she awkwardly agrees it's a fair point. She quickly changes the subject, cheerfully, noting Bernard will be a great mentor for LB Boy. Lily Ann admits she felt useless and discouraged during the miasma crisis, but seeing Lil Boy's resolve inspired her to not fall behind as the first disciple. Roj realizes they've had a positive influence on each other, then recalls Lil Boy's words. He quotes the simple advice to just do what you want, which Lillian wholeheartedly agrees with. And, with a blush, she admits that's exactly why she decided to join him. Checkmate, Sage. The sage is completely flustered, his brain struggling to process the situation. He tries to reason with her, reminding her that she's an adult now. She agrees, pointing out that she's not a child who needs him to look after her. As he tries to splash away, she begins to explain her feelings. She's been happy as his disciple and even happier as his daughter. But with a deep blush, she admits there's something more she feels for him. Rose's mind goes completely blank. Caught in the emotional, she leans in close, ready to finally confess her true feelings. But the moment is shattered by Lil Boy bursting in to offer his services. Talk about a mood killer. He's shocked to see Lily Ann complaining that he missed his chance to join them. A wooden bucket to the face sends LB Boy flying. So much for scrubbing his master's back. Roj scrambles to escape, announcing his hasty retreat. As Lil Ann watches, mortified, he slams the door behind him, yelling for her to take her time. Smooth, Roj. Real smooth. Lily Ann is left alone. Her confession cut short and the romantic tension completely gone. A deep blush covers her face, a mix of embarrassment and lingering feelings. Outside, Roj clutches his head in despair while Lil Boy lies unconscious on the floor. The next morning, Lil Boy bids a loud and passionate farewell to the medical corps. As they prepare to leave, Bernard gives the young noble some final words of encouragement. He then asks their destination, warning them that Zabel is known for its anti-mage sentiment. But Lily Ann just smiles, seeing it as another adventure and a memory to be made. Roj asks Bernard to take care of his new student, but the medic says it's all up to him. As they walk away, Lillian gives Loadboy one last, loud warning not to cause trouble. Roj muses that it'll be lonely now, but Lillian bluntly calls it refreshing. Her ice-cold response leaves the sage completely speechless. He quickly backpedals, insisting he was only kidding. But she softens, admitting she'll miss her very first junior disciple, just a little. Roj realizes that for all her complaining, she was the one who looked out for him the most. As they walk on, she explains she just didn't want her master to worry. The scene shifts to a memory where a young boy is praised for his incredible magical talent. That same boy is now a young man hailed as the new emperor. He looks thrilled, doesn't he? The crowd roars, hailing the new emperor, Kielius, but his eyes are cold, devoid of any real celebration. An aide asks how to report a recent accident, but Sialius orders it buried. The man panics, worried about witnesses and reports reaching King Se, but the new emperor is unfazed, vowing to silence any inconvenient truths. Elsewhere, a man named Lord Treen is summoned to the emperor's side. Meanwhile, in a grand library, Lady Isabel is asked to perform routine maintenance. Her subordinates try to explain the technical importance of the task. She understands the necessity, but is clearly annoyed by the menial labor. She snaps at the job for an underling, one Lillian used to handle. So much for leadership. Her subordinate explains that only the chief magician can handle such intricate work. Isabel snaps, complaining about her useless staff before agreeing to do it. She scoffs at the task, seeing it as mundane work beneath her station. Deciding to get it over with, she prepares to deploy her magic, but she's immediately overwhelmed by an ocean of complex magical circles. The sheer scale and complexity of the task leaves her completely stunned. She realizes it would take her days for a single golem and asks about Lillian's record. The answer is a humbling list of Lillian's impossible efficiency. Her subordinates can't help but praise Lillian's incredible talent. Awkward. Isabel's ego can't take it, and she furiously orders them to be silent. Isabel rationalizes that Lillian must have been cutting corners to be so efficient. She argues that with all the extra tasks they gave her, proper maintenance was impossible. With a final flourish, she declares the job done, trying to convince herself she's superior. Her subordinates can only exchange a silent, unimpressed glance. Yeah, they're not buying it. The scene shifts to a sunlit conservatory where Lord Tracehan enjoys a quiet moment. Emperor Kalius approaches, offering a less than sincere welcome to his guest. Trajan calmly sips his tea, questioning the new emperor's sarcastic tone. Kias wonders why he didn't just teleport, but Trine claims the long journey was the emperor explains that without a skilled mage like Lillian, such a feat was impossible. Trishon brings up her resignation, and Sialius confirms the official story of her illness. Trishon then asks if Isabel is a worthy replacement, but Caius offers only silence. The emperor looks away, insisting there's no issue, but his avoidance speaks volumes. Trishan's cold, knowing gaze suggests he sees right through his brother's lie. He changes the subject, reminding Telos that he was summoned for a reason. Kalius gets straight to the point, questioning why Tran hasn't visited their dying father. Trashon dismisses the notion, coldly stating their father wouldn't want to see him. He explains that after their mother's death, their father only ever spoke to. The emperor's face falls, the painful memories clearly weighing on him. Trishon bitterly recalls being pushed aside as Kalias was chosen as the heir. Tyalas's expression twists with rage, wishing his own father would just hurry up and die. Trishan turns away, coolly, stating their father can now rest easy with Kalias on the throne. He vows to dedicate himself to supporting the new emperor from the shadows. But Sialius has had enough, demanding his brother stop the condescending act. Trashon just smiles, reminding him that as royalty, he won't lack for power. He adds that while he can't understand pain, he sees things the emperor misses. Telos demands an explanation, and Trine simply tells him to broaden his horizons. The emperor explodes, a sudden, furious realization dawning on his face. He clenches his fist, listing the endless burdens of the crown that wear him down daily. He reveals their parents' true wish to free Trishan from this ugly world of politics. They wanted Trian, the truly talented one, to live as freely as possible. Silas recalls his mother praising his talent only to dismiss it as useless for a royal. Trishon calls it a remarkable talent, a choice neither he nor their father was ever given. He points out that Telos has the option to pursue magic and escape the throne,